Your doctor probably isn't going to tell you to put cloves in your morning coffee. And no, that's not because doctors are hiding some billion-dollar secret from you. It's because there isn't enough evidence to call coffee with clove a miracle drink. But there is something genuinely interesting about this combination. One tiny clove contains a powerful aromatic compound called eugenol, and your morning coffee contains a completely different group of compounds called chlorogenic acids. Both of these compounds have been studied for their biological effects. So, what actually happens when you put them together? And could this simple combination really do something useful for your health? Let's separate the science from the viral health claims. First, let's talk about coffee. Most people think of coffee as nothing more than a source of caffeine. Caffeine is certainly one of its most noticeable compounds, but coffee contains hundreds of other chemical compounds. Among them are polyphenols called chlorogenic acids. These compounds have antioxidant properties. They have also been studied for their potential effects on inflammation and metabolism. And this is one reason scientists are interested in coffee beyond its ability to wake you up. Coffee consumption has been associated with several potentially beneficial health outcomes. One of the most interesting areas of research involves the liver. Studies have found that regular coffee consumption is associated with a lower risk of several chronic liver conditions. Some research has also linked coffee consumption with a lower risk of liver fibrosis. But there's an important word you need to remember. Association does not mean cure. Drinking coffee doesn't mean you're treating liver disease. And coffee isn't a substitute for medical care. Your liver already has sophisticated systems for processing and removing substances from your body. You don't need a special drink to flush toxins out of it. Now let's talk about the other ingredient. Cloves are actually dried flower buds from the clove tree. They have been used as a culinary spice for centuries. They have also been used traditionally in different forms of herbal medicine. But what makes cloves particularly interesting is their chemical composition. One of their major compounds is called eugenol. Eugenol is responsible for much of the distinctive smell and flavor of cloves. It is also the compound behind much of the scientific interest in cloves. Laboratory research has found that eugenol has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity. Some studies have also investigated its antimicrobial properties. But here's where internet health videos often go wrong. A compound showing an effect in a laboratory doesn't automatically mean it produces the same effect in a human body. That's a very important distinction. So when you hear that eugenol is stronger than ibuprofen, don't immediately believe it. Laboratory anti-inflammatory activity isn't the same thing as proving that cloves are a better treatment than medication. In fact, comparing the two that way can be dangerously misleading. Now here's where things get even more interesting. You may have heard that combining coffee and cloves creates a powerful health synergy. The claim usually sounds something like this. Coffee contains chlorogenic acids. Cloves contain eugenol. And when the two meet, their effects supposedly multiply dramatically. Some people even claim that 1 + 1 becomes 10. Sounds incredible, right? But there is no good human evidence showing that coffee and clove create a 10-fold health effect. Scientists do study something called food synergy. Food synergy simply means that different compounds can interact with one another, but that doesn't automatically mean their effects multiply dramatically. So we can be excited about the science without exaggerating it. Now let's talk about what happens when you actually drink coffee with clove. The first thing you'll probably notice is the flavor. Cloves are extremely aromatic. Even a small amount can give coffee a warm, spicy taste. The next thing you'll notice is the caffeine. Caffeine stimulates the central nervous system. That's why coffee can make you feel more alert and awake. But here's something important. Clove doesn't magically cancel the stimulating effects of caffeine. If coffee normally makes you anxious, adding clove isn't guaranteed to remove that feeling. Some people are simply more sensitive to caffeine than others. Your response can depend on genetics, sleep, medications, and how much caffeine you consume, so don't think of clove as an antidote to caffeine. Now let's move to digestion. Cloves have traditionally been used for digestive complaints. Some experimental research has also investigated their effects on the gastrointestinal system. Coffee itself can stimulate bowel movements in some people. That's why you may feel the urge to use the bathroom shortly after your morning coffee. But this doesn't mean coffee is cleaning out years of waste from your intestines. Your digestive system already has a natural process for moving food and waste through your body. So when someone says clove coffee will detox your digestive tract in 24 hours, be skeptical. Now let's talk about blood sugar. Coffee can influence glucose metabolism in complicated ways. Chlorogenic acids have been studied for their possible effects on glucose absorption and metabolism, but the evidence isn't strong enough to say that adding cloves to coffee will stabilize your blood sugar within 3 days. And this is especially important if you have diabetes or prediabetes. Your blood sugar is influenced by your entire lifestyle. Your diet matters. Your physical activity matters. Your sleep matters. Your medications, when prescribed, can also matter. One spice in your coffee cannot replace those things. Now let's talk about inflammation. This is another area where both coffee and cloves are scientifically interesting. Coffee contains compounds with antioxidant and potentially anti-inflammatory activity. Eugenol has also demonstrated anti-inflammatory activity in experimental studies. But that doesn't mean your joint pain will disappear after drinking clove coffee for 1 week. Persistent joint pain can have many different causes. If your knees are constantly painful or swollen, don't simply assume you need more cloves. Find out what's actually causing the problem. Now let's return to coffee and the liver. This is one area where the evidence surrounding coffee is genuinely interesting. Regular coffee consumption has been associated with better outcomes for several liver conditions. Researchers have proposed several possible mechanisms behind these observations. These may include antioxidant effects and changes in metabolic pathways. But again, this doesn't mean coffee is a liver detox, and adding clove doesn't transform it into a liver treatment. So, what about the popular coffee preparation methods? You don't need an elaborate 5-minute clove protocol to get some flavor from the spice. And there is no scientifically established recipe that guarantees a specific health outcome. If you simply want to experiment with the flavor, start small. You could use 1 whole clove. Lightly crush it to release some of its aromatic compounds. Then allow it to steep briefly in hot coffee or hot water. Remove the clove before drinking if you prefer. That's a culinary experiment, not a medical treatment. And please don't assume that more cloves mean more benefits. Cloves are highly concentrated in aromatic compounds. Large amounts may cause digestive irritation or other unwanted effects. Concentrated clove oil is also very different from using a small amount of the spice in food. This distinction is extremely important. Now let's talk about medications. Eugenol may affect platelet function and could potentially increase bleeding risk, particularly in concentrated amounts. So, if you're taking anticoagulant or antiplatelet medication, speak with your healthcare professional before regularly using high-dose clove products. And if coffee gives you severe reflux, stomach irritation, anxiety, or palpitations, don't expect clove to fix the problem. You may need to reduce your caffeine intake instead. For many healthy adults, however, a small culinary amount of clove can simply be another way to add flavor to food and drinks. And that brings us to the bigger lesson. You don't need to turn every food into a miracle remedy. You don't need a mysterious detox drink. You don't need an expensive supplement promising to transform your body overnight. Sometimes the smarter approach is much simpler. Understand what you're actually consuming. Understand what the evidence says. And then make choices you can realistically maintain. So, can you put clove in your coffee? Absolutely, if you enjoy the flavor and it agrees with your body. But don't drink it expecting a guaranteed 15-minute transformation. There is no proven 3-day blood sugar reset. There is no guaranteed 1-week inflammation cure. And there is no evidence that 3 cloves in your coffee will reset your entire body. What you do have is an interesting combination of 2 foods containing biologically active compounds. Coffee gives you caffeine and a range of polyphenols. Cloves provide eugenol and other plant compounds. Together, they can make an ordinary cup of coffee more interesting. But the real health benefit comes from the bigger picture. What does the rest of your diet look like? Are you moving your body regularly? Are you sleeping enough? Are you eating enough whole foods? Are you managing conditions that actually require medical treatment? Those questions matter far more than finding one magical ingredient. So tomorrow morning, if you're curious, try a small amount of clove in your coffee. Start with 1 clove rather than a large dose. Pay attention to how your body responds. And most importantly, don't confuse a healthy habit with a miracle cure. Because the goal isn't to find one secret ingredient that fixes everything. The goal is to understand your body well enough to make better choices consistently. And that is far more powerful than any viral health hack. If you found this explanation helpful, subscribe for more evidence-based health videos. Because here, we don't just tell you what to eat. We explain why it might matter and where the science stops.